Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day today. I've had an early breakfast and got my coffee ready. Busy week with Reaper news and videos and all this stuff. The day after I got the What's New in Reaper 7 video done, we got the 7.02 update, so back to work. Lots of cool things in that I would like to explore further today. The first thing I want to look at today is Arturia's new audio interface. So Arturia has a new audio interface called the AudioFuse 16 rig. It's the first one that I've seen that has 16 analog inputs and outputs. So if you look at the back of it, if we can actually find a picture of it here, there's a diagram, but 16 line inputs and outputs, I think, or it's 12 line outputs, maybe 10, I don't know, but lots of analog I/O. You don't see that too often, directly with the TRS jacks. It's got digitally controlled controls. It's a standalone mixer. It has USB ports, 2 reamp outputs on the front, 1/8" jack for line in from like a phone or something. It's got a ton of good stuff. It's not a cheap interface. This will be Arturia's most expensive audio interface, and this is getting close to the price range of like RME. I've been thinking about upgrading recently anyways. Now it's a matter of this one or something from Audient, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it seems pretty sweet. The only kind of downside is it's only 2 mic preamps. But for people that only have 1 mic, like I'm pretty much only using 1 mic ever, and they have a bunch of hardware effects or they've got a few synths to plug in, I think this gives a lot of options and a pretty compact package. I'm definitely tempted to get it. Yeah, I mean, not really any complaints about like how it's organized or anything like that. I don't love like digitally controlled monitor knobs and things like that. I know that there is an analog control for the main headphone out, but all the others are digitally controlled. That's all fine. Like the AudioFuse version 1 that I have now, I wouldn't say it's flawless. Sound quality, all the features and stuff is good, and I would consider upgrading to something newer from the same company. But yeah, it's not flawless. They updated the AudioFuse Control Center app earlier this week. They changed the icon, and I find it really stands out now. The AF thing instead of just sort of like this green old logo. And the clock rate, the sample rate indicator is always reverting to 44.1, even though it's currently at 48. I don't know. It worked fine before, but they updated it and they added a little bug. So $1,500 US list price for this. Seems like it's worth it. Convenient, 2 inputs, or well, I guess it's 4 inputs on the front and an additional 2 outputs on the front. Yeah, seems pretty cool. There's a new drum library, and links to these things are in the description of the stream. Bogren Digital has a new drum library, like black metal drums. Krimh drums? I don't know how to pronounce that. But these are going to be like black metal, like heavy stuff. I haven't tried it out. There's a good demo from Resington. And if you're looking for some sort of like a free drum sampler that works in Contact and it, good for metal stuff, this is worth checking out. How to toggle in MOM just 1 or a few mouse modifiers for 1 or 2 context. Right. So if we open that script up, go to the cog icon here and go to filter, and you can choose which contexts are active. And these are active when saving or loading. So yeah, if you only want to toggle one section, you can do a snapshot of your entire mouse mod page, or just filter it so that it just saves that one section. Also, if you didn't know, in the preferences, this was in the What's New in Reaper version 7 video. You can also go to mouse modifiers, and for, let's say, track, go to import export script to set these mouse modifiers for this context. So you can just do this for the one page if you want. So you just do one with your customized and one with your default, and it'll just do this page. So if you have things on left drag, left click, double click, and you want to customize those and have those as toggles in the action list, you can export them that way. So like these are kind of alternative options to writing your own scripts as well. And in that video, I showed how to do the manual scripting. Hopefully that answers it. So a question from Barry Davis: how to toggle in effects monitoring using Hello Go Boss? So I guess you mean I'm drawing a blank on what that thing's called. Hello Go Boss makes playtime and the other plugin. My mind is blank right now. I cannot figure out what that thing's called. ReaLearn. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't know if Monitor Effects is here. It looks like Monitor Effects isn't supported. But one thing you can do, I think there was... Cphilion has actions for bypassing Monitor Effects in different slots, toggling them or unbypassing. And so these should be in repack. And there's an action to toggle showing it. Where's my Monitor Effects? If I show my Monitor Effects, click on Learn. I think it just counts it as master. It seems like it finds it if I'm doing Learn. So enable, disable, and it got the loudness. It says master track, but it does seem to be Monitor Effects. So yeah, if I do Learn and then global sampler, it seems to find that. It's just called master instead of Monitor Effects. Yeah, I think that solves it. Question from Jonas: can you show some of the new options for effects and sends list in the TCP in Reaper 7? In terms of options, there's not really a lot. So right click, you can show, no, not that. You can show effects inserts, you can show sends. Okay, so parameters is another option that could be in there. They don't show up until you have some effects in there. So let's just put in an effect. And so there's the EQ in there. And then if I have a second track and I send from one track to another, you can see that the sends show up there. I don't really know what else to say that's like new. If you get the beta theme adjuster, you can do things like keeping these columns visible all the time, moving it to the left side underneath the track controls, or on the right side like it is now. For pre-release theme adjuster, track control panels, yeah, you can pin sends, you can pin embedded UI, and you can, or pin effects inserts, pin effects params. And so if you have all these things pinned, they kind of take up a lot of space. But in here, we can choose left side, bottom, or right side for each of these things separately. And this is just for layout A. So layout B and C has different options. So personally, I like right side and no embedded UI. I don't pin stuff. Or at this point, I haven't really decided. I think the main kind of new thing here is just that the effects inserts and such can be, you can easily choose where that goes. And in here, there's also things like the max width, minimum width. I had some trouble trying to get this to work, actually. Because these are all sort of like linked. There, you can make the section bigger, and then you can choose. I don't know. I think it was this one, yeah. They're all sort of like linked to each other. They shift each other around, so it's a little confusing for me sometimes. Yeah, I don't really like the stuff showing all the time if there's no sends or effects. Yeah, I think it's cleaner without. Kenny's new advanced tutorial on takes was really good. It made a huge difference changing the default keyboard shortcuts for left drag. I forget what that part was. I did watch both of those yesterday. Okay, can't get track spacers to work in the mixer. So let's put a track spacer before and after. And go in the mixer, and you can see them here. If you're not seeing that, it's usually because you might have group folders to the left enabled. So that happens. Anything that would change the order of the tracks. I think there is a way to have a different track order other than that one option. I just forget what it's called. Might be auto arrange tracks. Yeah, auto arrange tracks will keep your track numbers in sequence, even if you change where they are. Where auto arrange auto arrange off does that, and auto arrange on keeps the track numbers in order. Hopefully that explains it. Can you separate the sends list and effects list while remaining on the right side like two columns? Possibly. I don't know about separating them into separate columns. I think maybe that's possible, but I haven't explored it too much. Usually I don't like anything that makes my tracks too wide, but I'm pretty sure that they just autofill like up to the top. If you don't like the features of the Reaper 7 theme, you don't have to use it. Like no one's forced to use it. I think there's some neat stuff coming, but it's not there yet. So just use whatever theme you like. Yeah, if you liked Reaper Tip's theme, use it. He's going to do an update pretty soon, I think. One thing that I made a mistake about in the What's New in Reaper 7 video was with track spacers, and I said that you couldn't make them bigger or smaller. What I was thinking is like if you put two beside each other, like it doesn't become bigger, but it's not technically true that you can't resize them. And I think 3 or 4 people pointed it out to me. Visual track spacer size, 16 is the default, but you could set this to like 60. And so you can have larger separators that way if you want. Yeah, these aren't really tracks, so they don't have names, they don't have icons. It's almost like the empty space at the bottom, like even the menus. I was going to say even the menu's the same, but it's actually not quite the same. Some similar things. Is that a menu we can customize? I swear I could scroll these menus just the other day. Maybe that's a macOS Sonoma thing. Track spacer context. Yeah, we can customize that menu as well. There's so many things in this update that like I don't notice at first, even though I've read the changelog probably 10 times. The way you assumed it should have worked, stacking multiple spacers sounds like a better way to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Or like dragging the top edge of this track, you would kind of think that you'd be able to resize from the top side to do a larger separator. I'm not bothered by it. Maybe something like right click and set size might be a useful thing. Any issues with Sonoma? The main thing is that, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hidden by my camera. See, there's this icon at the top. When I'm not screen sharing, this is a bright orange button saying that my microphone is active. And because I own an audio interface, I always have microphones active. So it's just this bright icon that seems to just draw my attention constantly. Other than that, and my GoPro not working today, which I don't know if is a problem with the software or it just sucks because I had issues with this on the previous operating system. Other than those two things, and it seems like I couldn't scroll in long menus. Just the other day I could scroll in here and now I can't. Now I gotta hover over. They gotta fix this thing. This thing's dumb. The track channel thing. Because when you're in an effects window and you set the track channels, you can just click on other and then type. Like, they should just do the same thing. The Sonoma update went pretty smoothly. I like this, I like that if I click on the desktop, it hides everything. And I assume you can still see it. It hid my OBS, but I've got these buttons here for setting my lights and stuff. So it's the Casa app for iPad, which now works on an M1 Mac. And then it's the Shortcuts app, and it's the shortcut widget you're seeing here. So these are triggering actions on my cameras and lights. So I don't know what screen you're seeing here. So if I press this button, right, you should be seeing me. And if I click on the hanging lights button, I can turn that off. It's a little slow. But yeah, that's a thing I can do from my desktop now, instead of having to open my phone to do that. And I don't know what else I'm gonna use widgets for, really. I suppose I could have maybe a music app there, but there's still no YouTube Music desktop app. There's no like now playing widget either. That's kind of annoying. Yeah, it's like any of the things that I would like to have aren't available. It's hard to see send levels in tracks or mixer view. Yeah, it's only if you hover over it. The knob shows the level though. Maybe it's kind of hard to see. But so I'll just drag a send. And so you can kind of see on the knob, there's this indicator that moves. So you just kind of have to get used to like, that's straight up, that's Unity. And it's plus 12 above. I kind of get why they do that. Some people complained that the indicator interferes with the name. They just hide one, but it'll probably be optional. When I'm mixing, I don't really like look at the indicator. I'm like adjusting it until I can hear it. And you can still do the like hold shift, change the panning of it. That still works. So like the only difference is that the level sort of bar here only changes when you're hovering over it. Just to keep it uncluttered. I know, change is hard. I noticed that new features in menus did not migrate to my customized menus, like the spacers menu. Had to manually move them into my customized menus. Yes, and that's not a Reaper 7 related thing. That's always been like that. Customized menus are written into a different file. Reaper-menu.ini. Updating Reaper doesn't change that file. So if there's nothing in here, it falls back to what's built into Reaper. And in this customized menus thing, the default is what's written into Reaper, and this side is reading from the INI. Yeah, same thing happened with me for certain menus, the track menu. But I showed this, was it last week? I showed this in the FAQ. So last Friday's stream and in the video that came out Saturday, I think it was. Yeah, main toolbar buttons, options menu, track menu, mixer. I wish there was a way to at least know what's new menu items were included in update. Yeah, you really just kind of have to look at the change logs. They're marked in the change logs, but they might be a little vague, and they might group certain things like add actions, menu items to move tracks to new or existing folder track. This is an interesting thing that I actually missed doing the 7.0 video. So if we have a couple tracks here, and one of these is a folder, actually, let's give this a name. So let's call this drums. I take this track here, right click on it, go to move tracks to folder, and then I can do a new folder track or drums. Any of the folders that are existing already. And if they don't have a name, it'll just be the track number. So I can do that. And now that selected track is now inside of the drums folder. So that was added in 7.0. And that was one of those things where I was mostly concerned with the drag and drop reordering, that I didn't notice that there was new menus and actions. So we can also do this, move tracks to folder, and then right there, that will do that. Yeah, so it just puts that thing. If it's already in a folder, it looks like this. It's just grayed out. Do new, and I'll put that inside there. I don't know the best way for them to communicate like 1,000 different changes to us. I think they do a pretty good job with marking things in the change logs and then the sort of summary on the website. But if there's like a couple big updates in a row, it can be sometimes overwhelming. Is it possible to make a script that when you have a track selected, inserts a certain track from a track template, makes a send from the selected track to the newly created track? Probably. I think there is. The creating the send part is tricky. Inserting a track template, it can be done with SWS resources. Generally, the best way to do it is to set up the routing within the template. So the template contains 2 tracks. I don't know, maybe that's a better way to do it. So you save your track template, and then maybe in your script, you are moving the track media down to that track, or moving the effects chain down to that track or something like that. I'm sure it's possible, and it could probably be possible without even using SWS resources, but pretty specific use case. Can I explain your toolbar icons? The ones with the wave images on them, like these ones. A video where I've showed those, but now I don't know what it'd be called. They're in this one. They're in this video. I don't have a link to where I got those icons from, but they were on the forum. So if I import something, I actually thought of a feature request this week. What I was thinking was a way to hide the Media Explorer while dragging items. Because like, I can only see 3 tracks here, and I can make a new track. It'd be nice to be able to like scroll and reach other tracks, because scroll wheel doesn't work once you're dragging. And I can't close. I can't use any keyboard shortcuts as I'm doing this. So it might be cool to have the Media Explorer hide. Okay, so we're on normal peaks here. And I've got a button for spectral peaks, and because it's sort of a noisy thing, you can't really tell, but there is some color there. If I go to this one with the gear icon, that is the controls for spectral peaks. I generally keep this on default. Then I've got spectral, no. Is that spectral peaks? No. Normal peaks plus spectrogram. I've got spectrogram only. Add a new spectral edit in the selected area. Well, you don't have to have a selected area. If you don't have a time selection, it'll just insert one at the cursor. And then I also have rectified waveforms, which you can only see in normal view. So rectified waveforms combine positive and negative voltages. Some people find it easier to edit that way. I don't really. And then there's these 2 color ones. One's item color and one's take color. Sometimes they work exactly the same. Sometimes they don't. Using track templates with reinsert for outboard gear, I want to skip the step of routing a selected to the track template. There are scripts for creating sends quickly, but they're kind of hard to remember, and they have to be done from keyboard because you have to select a track and then point your mouse at the destination and then run the action. It'll create the send. I think drag and drop is going to be the easiest, or right click on the routing button and then choose whether it receives from somewhere else or gets a send from somewhere else. That's usually how I do it. I had one spectral edit in my last video. Yeah, spectral waveforms is an amazing feature. FL Studio recently got that, and customizing the colors in the past month or two. Spectral peaks in editing. Yeah. Let me show you let's say the What's New in Reaper 7 video. So I don't usually color code stuff, but each of these that are different colors is actually a separate recording. It was a lot of files. I don't usually work like that. I usually just like hit record once. There's so many different topics in this video that I had to break it up into separate recordings, which adds a lot of work for syncing. After I got everything synced and I kind of roughly ordered the way that I wanted the video to go, I went through and marked the parts I wanted to keep, which was 324 regions, kind of a lot. And then I ran my script to dump all of the keeper takes into the beginning of the project. I had to re-record one of them. I forget which one. One of them I had to record while I was editing. And the spectral edit, there it is, just this one spectral edit. But that would make things a lot simpler. That's about it for parallel effects and containers at this point. So I can still hear the issue or a different issue. Okay, so now this is back to normal. That's about it for parallel effects and containers at this point. Container, there's this loud squeak. Container, kind of a lot of work. I spent probably 10 minutes on this one squeak. But yeah, just kind of find an isolated or a spot, add in a spectral edit, narrow it down to just that one narrow frequency range, use the fade in and out sections, and then for certain sounds that has harmonics, so you're kind of just making copies of the spectral edit by command dragging to make a new one with the same settings and just choose a different frequency. It's effective. Hopefully it's less noticeable than the squeak. Could you hear it? Hopefully you could hear it, but oh well. It's fine if you can't. Oh, I opened this project to show you how I use the spectral spectrogram. So with the default spectrogram view, this is how it looks with my voice. And the S's are in this color here. Maybe change this item color so it's a little clearer. Maybe that's easier to see. So that's an S. I can see that that's an S very easily, and I can hover over it and do that. So if I wanted to manually DS something, I can do that. That's why I like it on the default setting. But if there's a different frequency that you care more about, then yeah, I don't know. I edit a lot by eye, like that. Think FL added different color for different frequencies. That's similar to spectral edit. No, spectral peaks. So spectral peaks is this waveform view here. And you can drag this to change. Oh, like you can see the frequency range, and then you can choose which color of the spectrum gets mapped to what. You can define how much is noise, or or tonal and how much variance between color there is. But honestly, the default settings are pretty good. And there are a few different presets for choosing the rainbow. And yeah, there's different octave things. I don't know, just the default works fine for me, so I just leave it. So if FL Studio added that sort of thing, that's great. It's such a useful feature. I wouldn't want anyone to be without something like that. For dialogue editing, I find it very helpful. I don't think about it that much for music production because like drums tend to be just like gray. Synth stuff tends to be kind of all the same sort of color. Sometimes I forget if they're on or not. Do I know when the theme adjuster is coming? Like a full stable full version? I don't really know. I don't know what the holdup is. It's crazy that someone like Saxon can make stuff so advanced and quickly, but some other, like the theme adjuster script seems like an easy thing. He's also trying to make it work for every operating system, every screen resolution, all this stuff. And it's scripting, it's art, creating all these assets, making sure that they load on different systems. I'm sure it's more complicated than we think, making the theme, but it does seem like it's slow progress, slower progress than it should be. Once it's out, we'll probably have other people making their own versions of it. If there was an error using the theme adjuster 7.0, it's usually a version mismatch. So every version of the script requires a different version of Reaper. Is there a way to pack all the settings so you can move to another PC? Yep. It's pretty simple. You can go to the general page and there's export. That'll make I think it makes a zip file. But honestly, if you just go to options menu, show Reaper resource path, select all, compress, or make a zip. That's all you need to do. Yeah, all your installed scripts, including repack, will be inside of that file. Yeah, in here in the export, you can choose the scripts folder, just a rescripts toggle. 123 files. If I also check rescripts, it's going to figure that out. Gonna take a minute. See, this is why I just prefer like just selecting the folder, just so I have everything. And I have a backup running every night. Yeah, so now it's 12,871 files to back up with the rescripts. Every night I have a script that runs actually from my calendar app so that it grabs everything in this folder, zips it, and puts that into Dropbox. So if I go to my Reaper configs, Reaper Mac, and here is my backup from the past 24 hours. And it's about 1 gig for everything. All right, so somebody said field recording. Let's do this thing that we do.
Behold my stuff.
I got a Zoom F3. It's a small field recorder, but it is larger and heavier than I expected. Powered by 2 AA's, and it has 2 XLR inputs, only 1/8-inch outputs. The buttons are small and clicky, but the main thing is that it's a 32-bit audio recorder, which is a very new thing for me. We talked about 32-bit at least once in the live streams over the past year, 32-bit audio recording, because it's a pretty new thing. It's a little strange. I've got a lot of questions about it. I haven't really got to try it yet. Seems fun. I don't know even what to go record, but yeah, I want to set up like get a little stereo rig, maybe binaural or something. And I don't know, maybe just walk around, do a little field recording trip. Have I experimented with recording tracks takes into main project while continuous recording is happening in second project for all inputs. I haven't. I don't really get the point of that. Kenny had a video about editing while recording thing. I just couldn't relate to why you would want to do that. But it's cool that you can, I guess. I always think of the recording into a separate project as like a way to capture a backup, like a always recording tape backup sort of thing. It's to the same system, so it's not exactly like a tape recorder backup, but yeah, it's a thing you can do. Yeah, I wouldn't go cave exploring with Ben Jordan. When is Reaper 8 coming out? I would guess 4 years from now. Quite a while. I don't like the way that fixed lanes stretches out your tracks horizontally if you're using track icons. Yeah, there is a way to hide the buttons now. In 7.02, they added that. So you can enable fixed lanes and then right click, and there's this button here, hide fixed lane buttons. And so that makes it quite a bit smaller, hardly bigger than the track meter now. So that's a really good addition. I actually have 2 videos already recorded about recording with track lanes. There's some really important things that people might not get. I don't know if I should rehash it now. I've already recorded it. I just need to edit it. Can't color all TCP with black in Reaper 7. I don't know. I haven't tried. So track to custom color. Let's do black. Okay, so if it doesn't go completely black, you go to the theme adjuster, and then you can set the custom color strength to 100%. So it's probably you don't have the custom color strength all the way up. Can't wait for Reaper 8, already completed 7, yeah. If I had a normal install on Mac, how easy is it to change it to a portable install? Pretty simple. A portable install is usually what I do. You only need 2 things to create a portable install for Reaper on Mac. We have reaper.app and reaper.ini. Put those into a folder and then open Reaper, and it will recreate everything else with the default settings. But instead of doing that, you can just take all of your settings, put them in a folder, put reaper.app inside there, and then run it, and it's done. Is there a way to make the buttons bigger on TCP? Yes and no. Right click and go to track layout, and then there's 150 and 200 options. I guess there's actually 50% and 75% as well, but you can go to 150, and that makes them quite a lot bigger. I'm pretty sure Kenny uses the 150 for his videos. It seems quite zoomed in on his. How do you show numbers with track meters rather than just the meter? Yeah, you need the theme, the default 7 theme adjuster. In here, you uncheck meter values. Layout C seems to have the markings. Layout B doesn't, layout A doesn't. Are you using a script called Paranormal FX router? Yep, just put out a video about that yesterday, or it was part of the video. We used it last week on the live stream, and then I ended up cutting it out of the FAQ video because it's not really something that like every user needs to use. Is there any Reaper Con? No, I don't think so. There's no events that I know of, but feel free to hang out in the Discord. This live stream is the Reaper convention. We just do it every Friday. Wonder if zoom to loop selection is possible. There is from Me2Beats. My loops are always linked to my time selection, so I never looked for that specifically, but yeah. I'm supposed to be recording this video right now, but I don't really feel like making the video right now. Like if I wasn't live streaming, I might not actually get to this. I've been so exhausted this week. The what's new in Reaper 7.02, there's several things that I wanted to cover. And there's also just as many things from 7.0 that I didn't get to that are worth mentioning. Maybe we'll just speed run this and I'll just record it again properly later. Is that okay with you guys? Let's do that. Why not? I'll just do it twice. People hated the Reaper 6 theme when it came out. It was the same sort of complaints as we're getting right now. Let's do a live What's New in Reaper thing, but the low effort version, I guess. All right, so here's some of the new things that are new in 7.02. So first, track reordering. Make folder creation drag and drop behavior closer to that of 6.81. So they've gone back and forth a few times on these drag and drop functions. So in my last video, I talked about how you drag and you look for the mouse icon to change, and then you would drag it to the left to create a folder. Well, they changed that, and now it's drag it to the right and somewhere in the middle. So you can see, and kind of this middle section on the left half. Well, they changed it again, and it's going to change again. I know it's going to change again in the next update as well, but they've changed this in version 6.83, 7.0, and 7.02 so far. And also there was the option to hold shift. So if you just remember, look for the folder icon, you can do that. I used to use keyboard shortcuts for things like this. So I would press Command Shift F, and this would create a folder above the selected items, prompt for a name, and let's call it bass. And now they're all colored the same because of SWS autocolor. So yeah, there's lots of options for making folders now. Hopefully you'll find 2 or 3 that are convenient for you. Related to that, if inserting track at the end of a project and the last track is a folder with hidden collapsed children, add the track outside the folder. This was often an issue. So if you had tracks in a folder and you add a new track, often that new track would just automatically go to the end of the folder. So now creating new tracks should stay kind of on the outside of the tracks. There's a preference for setting whether folders hide. Folder collapse button cycles track heights normally hidden. So if I've got these tracks hidden and we make new tracks, they go outside of the folder. And I think that is much more expected now. So if I select this track and then I do new track, they're outside of the folder, versus if I have this here or here, they're outside of the folder. So it's a little more predictable where those are going to go. I think that's a really nice, convenient change. For track lanes, add lane collapse button, right-click menu item to disable or re-enable fixed lanes. Add track setting to show hide lane buttons, right-click or alt-click lane collapse button. And when record into first lane available is enabled, skip comping lanes, if any. If we're in fixed item lanes view, we've got this little toggle button here, right? Now there's a right-click menu on it. We can show small lanes, show play only one lane, hide fixed lane buttons, disable lanes. So all those good things. This button was here before, and you could click on it to show normal or small size lanes or big and small size lanes. You could shift click it to show just a single lane. Now there's a little menu there, which is great. And if you want to make this smaller, there's this hide fixed lane buttons, and that's going to keep comping or any other functions related to fixed item lanes available, just with less of your TCP being used up. So pretty helpful. Oh yeah, and one of the bugs that I found accidentally was when I was recording into different sections of the song. It started recording into my comp lane, and Schwa noticed that was a bug. So that's fixed. So new lanes or available already created normal lanes will be used for recording, and comp lanes will never be recorded into unless you specifically say to record into that lane. Preferences support track lane buttons hidden by default. So in preferences, track send defaults for fixed lane defaults, we now have this option to hide lane buttons by default. So you can start new tracks with fixed item lanes, but hide those lane buttons. And so when you make a new track, that will look like this. So track lane is active, right? It's checked here, fixed item lanes, but the buttons are hidden. For preferences, add preference to disable all toolbar animations. I showed this in the What's New in Reaper 7.0 video. Don't animate armed action toolbar buttons. I guess I showed this in the FAQ as well. But this is new. Don't animate any toolbar buttons. And so just armed or armed and toggle buttons. So if you don't know what that means, there's a toggle button. Turn this on, and then that. It just lights up. It doesn't animate anymore. So if you find those visually distracting, that's a new preference for you. There's a little bug with the metadata editor. So when you're metadata editing, so if you type in something here, it was discarding any edits if you clicked away to another thing. If you don't press tab or you don't press enter or something like that, if you just click into the next box, these would end up getting lost. And it was just an unintentional change for, I think it was related to scrolling or something like that, where the text box was changing. I don't know. It was canceling editing before they fixed it, and then another thing broke. But that's fine now. That's about it for the 7.02 updates. For video, add option to disable video per media item. Video media defaults to low resolution audio peaks for improved responsiveness. Optionally display video from background projects if current project lacks video. Support project settings for YUV, preview, conversion gamut, which, yeah, that's a thing that's hard to show. And for multi-projects, if equals REF, all caps, markers specified in both projects, use as a manual synchronization point. Use project time offsets to synchronize video and playback between project tabs. So if I've got a video file and I have a subproject, this video file can play while my subproject is open, which is pretty cool. Or even project tabs. So I'll make a new project tab. If you right-click on the project tab, there's an option to display video. And so even though there's no video file in this project, I can see a video file here. And if I play, I can hear it from my first project tab, but it is playing from this one. And I get to choose where it is seeking to as well. You can also use the reference point if you have a different start time in this project versus the other one. So just like these equals start and equals end markers, you can do equals REF, and that's a synchronization point. If we go into the preferences and go to video, there is this option here for display low resolution audio peaks for video items. If you never touched the preference before, then this will be enabled in Reaper 7. And so that's just these audio waveforms, they're low quality. But also, as I zoom in here, there's no lag. And that's not a normal thing with compressed video files. So high-res peaks is the previous Reaper 6 and Reaper 5 preference. But those also changed. And in general, if you don't need audio from this, you can right-click and click on disable audio. And there's also an option to disable video from video files if you only want the audio. So we can set this to high resolution peaks and set this to disable video and hit OK. And now this is just an audio file for this. And I'm just going to disabling video per media item. That's a pretty neat option That's come up occasionally where I wanted the sound from a video rather than just the video. Hopefully this is interesting. This is not really my normal way of doing it. I'm trying to do this quickly for some reason. But also just kind of like learning this stuff as I go. I spent a bunch of time on recording with fixed item lanes yesterday and learning the looping and layering modes. That's either going to be a separate video or the 7.02 update video. Does Reaper have effects for video? Yes, it does. I've made a bunch of video effects. So you just add in the video processor. There's a bunch of built-in presets here for things like pixelating, blurring, image overlays, some transitions, and then I've got a bunch that I sell. The DVD logo thing is that's this thing. That's a Reaper video effect. Yeah, so if you're interested in my video processor presets, you can go to my blog and then click on courses, Reaper blog video tools. This is where I sell the presets and a big training course. Teach you everything I know about video editing in Reaper. Specific to Reaper 7, there's nothing really new in here for that stuff. Yeah, the thing with regular takes, if you can get used to it, it's a very good system. One benefit of the fixed item lanes is you're not recording into like a container that is the size of the first recording you do, where with takes, everything you do is like kind of has to remain within that length of that first recording, or it gets all these weird splits at the end and stuff like that. Or you're forced to use time selection auto punch to get exactly the same length recordings every single take. Fixed item lanes, it doesn't matter. I don't use razor editing too much for like dialogue or anything other than like moving complex selections, multi-selections, or moving multiple envelope segments at once. For basic editing, I hardly ever use razors. The preference page for MIDI devices has been updated. So there's now this like grid that we can toggle input, all channels, control, all this stuff in here very easily. Missing devices very clearly marked, and you can sort this list by status, by device name, by device ID. Pretty simple here as well. In the What's New in Reaper 7.0 video, I mentioned loopback. There's actually also a virtual MIDI device, which is pretty cool. So loopback, MIDI device. So that'll just be shown as Reaper loopback 1. And then you can send MIDI from one project tab to another. You can also send to it, I believe. Maybe. Okay, so on a second project tab, I can open Reaper loopback 1 as a channel. And on this track, can I send from Reaper loopback? There it is. Sometimes you just have to open and close the thing. So yeah, I've got this Poly D. So MIDI's coming in on that track. Over here, supposed to be sending through. Monitoring. Run background projects is enabled, but I'm not getting anything. I don't know. Further research needed. There's a new color thing for automation lines. Don't know how to change them. That was in the What's New in Reaper 7.0 video. So if you go to Appearance, Envelope, Colors. So I have the example of gain. If gain is used like in an EQ plugin or something, you can pick the color for that. Let's do another one. Put in FREQ. It's fine. Yeah, that color's okay. I don't mind that color. And so just Q. And this one will be blue. Okay. And so I'll take, let's just make a new one. New track, insert ReEQ, go into latch preview mode, and I'll just move this around and then change the quality and then come out of that mode. And so these are the colors that I picked. And in here, you can turn those off. So that's back to the default colors or specific ones based on name. Hopefully that explains it. You can get more specific with these strings. You can do like, I think you can do like and or and nor strings. Filter out certain things, but yeah, it's cool to be able to like have specific colors for the same thing across tracks rather than in the theme tweak. In here with the effects param, otherwise it's going to cycle through these 4 colors for every effects parameter. And you can't really like choose the order of them. If you show and hide different things or remove automation lanes. Is there a CSI map for Xtouch Compact? I'm not sure. No, I only have the Xtouch. I can't remember if there's an Xtouch Compact in there. You'd have to check the forum. If it's not included in the download, then somebody might have one. It's a popular interface or a controller, so I think people have probably made one so far. Any idea why 5 rotary knobs would not work using MC mode? Possibly just the wrong mode. In CSI, there is show input from surfaces. And that will tell you what your control surface is outputting. Oh, my controller is not even working correctly. That's why. That's why it's not showing. But one of those actions should do it. I think I just need to reset my... Okay. So now if I move a knob, it tells you what MIDI note or whatever is being sent. Have I been keeping up with the Fender tonemaster Pro videos? Not really. I saw Ola's videos, Ola England's videos, 2 of them, I think. It seems okay. I would probably still want to go with the Quad Cortex. I don't know. They're all kind of expensive. Like, are they really better than, like, I don't know, a 2008 pod or something like that these days? I don't even know. I've got so many guitar pedals. There's so much great free stuff. There's so many ways to get a good guitar tone these days. There's too many ways. And I don't think there's really been a video where Ola hasn't made the thing sound good. You return to Quad Cortex. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think of Fender as a company that makes pedals. Well, I know they do make pedals. I own one of their pedals. But I think you know what I mean. Like, they're not known for digital modeling stuff. I'm more likely to trust Line 6 to make a decent product, like the Helix stuff. That's pretty good. All of it takes time and effort to learn and get the best out of it. I struggle with Helix for bass sounds for some reason, but it's pretty solid overall. I find Amplitube to be one of the fastest of what I've tried, but I haven't tried any of the, well, I mean, there's so many options. Like I said, But I've got the Helix, I've got Amplitude 5 custom shop. I've got a ton of guitar pedals. What else do I have? Neural amp modeler. So just with the neural amp modeler stuff, you can get pretty much everything. Yeah, Boss makes solid stuff as well. So too many options. I guess it's that time of day when we do shopping. I still think this is like the best looking foot controller that's ever existed. I should just buy it, even though I don't need it. I think it's just the best looking one. But this isn't even an effect. This is just a controller. Yeah, I've heard very good things about the HX Stomp. I would love to get an Iridium and yeah, any of the Strymon pedals, really. I don't really like the constant need to upgrade things with the multi-effects systems. Like, they should last you a good long time. But it seems like every year, throwing them all away, get the new model, back to work. What was the last thing we're talking about? The MIDI loop thing. I need to figure out a way to demo that because that didn't work. And also, does that create a Reaper device in Audio MIDI? No, it doesn't. Add action to send explicit note off messages for every channel pitch combination to every MIDI output and plugin. Got this on Control Escape. Send all notes off and all sounds off to all MIDI outputs and plugins. So if you get a stuck note issue, this is an action that you can use. Add per device option to not warn when unable to open device. MIDI devices. Let's say we go to this one. Do not warn if unable to open device. I think I have warning off globally. Yeah, here. Warn when unable to open MIDI devices. If this is on, or this one, both of them, and then you don't have something connected. Yeah. Error opening devices looks like this. You can, if you click this, that will disable it globally. You can also click this and then choose which ones to warn about or not. So this one, do not warn if unable to open. The iPad, let's just remove that device. And the rhythm designer, let's just do not warn. Containers support configurable channel feedback. Okay, so this is a fun thing that I didn't really explore until yesterday. So we're going to put in a container. Let's put in some effects here. Let's do redelay. Let's do 5. And then let's do sure. Super VHS. 100% wet. I think that's bit crush. Okay, and then I'll just enable the synth. All right, so we've got some synth going in here, put it into this container with a delay and Super VHS. I'm going to set the container to, let's do like 80% wet, 50% wet. Let's do 50% wet. And might add in an EQ as well. Just to knock off the top and bottom. Okay. Okay, so next we're going to go to the I/O button of any of the plugins inside of the container. And hopefully you can see this. Let's zoom in. Feedback channels. Set this to 2. Now the output of the last plugin in the chain goes back to the first one, the beginning of the container. Here's how it sounds now. So yeah, you can do some fun stuff with it. All right, so no effects. Sounds like this. Let's get this fader back up to where it's supposed to be. And then with the effects. And if I turn off feedback, sounds like this. So definitely sounds better with feedback. Is there a risk of big feedback? Yes, absolutely. That's why you have to do things like make sure you're always having a lower signal for the wet than coming in. Spooky. So let me take this plugin out. Basically a clean echo. Let's do Devious Machine's Pitch Monster. And go up 1 semitone. I will change the speed to 5. Has Cockos ever considered making the stock plugin UIs prettier? I know they could if they wanted to, but I don't know. I mean, Justin made Winamp and there was themes in that. And White Time does the SSL plugins. They look good. Yeah, White Tie makes the Reaper theme that everyone complains about, and he has always made the Reaper themes. But yeah, if you look at houseofwhitetie.com, you can see he knows what he's doing. He's made some amazing plugin UIs. And yeah, I mean, it's just a different set of priorities, I guess you could say, for the Reaper theme. I don't particularly like this one because this is flat and straight, and then these are angled up, where it appears like I'm looking from below. But then, so it's a combination of I'm looking from below up at something, and also something that's straight on. So it's just a weird perspective. But, you know, it works. That's a little nitpick, I think. But yeah, he's done some pretty cool plugins. Yeah, this is another one that's kind of abandoned, but this is another Reaper theme that he had worked on. He could make Reaper plugins that look like this. They just don't want to. I guess, I don't know. I'm not in charge. Anyways, I think this this pitch shifted delay thing is pretty cool. It sounds pretty cool. So this is something you could do before with, you'd have to send to 2 tracks. Take all the effects in here and move them to a track. Send to this track. Okay, so you're sending to there. And then you open up the preferences and enable feedback routing. And then you take a send from track 2 to 3. And a send from track 3 to 2. And probably have to turn off master send. It doesn't seem right though. It's not exactly the same, is it? So that feedback loop function only appears when the effects is inside of a container. I don't know exactly how would you do it a different way. You could set it to a hardware send on a loopback channel. And then track input is probably gonna feed back. Set the input to stereo loopback. And monitor. No? Oh, wrong loop back. We've got too many of them. Okay, so using the loopback input and output, you can do feedback loops that way. Okay, so if I go back to just the single track container, volume level's a bit different, but it does work. So then outside of the container, you just need a volume control or something. I'm going to try a little altar boy and go link and go down to. This is fun. Go to delay. The Sound Toys Echo Boy Jr. usually. Let's put that in instead of redelay. It's just more interesting. Let's add some modulation to this. It's so chaotic. I love it though. Anyways, we should probably wrap up so this isn't like a 2-day job of editing. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff you can get with that. The glitches that plugins make when they are feeding back and stuff. It's really, really fun stuff. Yeah. So I've got at least 2 videos in the works that will be published next week. Hopefully there's not another Reaper update before I next see you. Let's wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for joining the live stream today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I had a good time, and I think I got everything done on my list. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. So real quick, there's this plugin called Chance Machine. This was originally made for working with Machine 2, but it's just a VST plugin. And this does probability per step, and you can choose different number of cycles per step, reset times, things like this. I found this on the forum this week. There was a demo video as well. Very cool stuff. So I'll have a link to this in the description of the video. I wanted to try it out, and I didn't remember it till just now to mention it. So this takes the incoming MIDI, and then there's a chance of it playing or not, essentially. And the pattern can reset. You can make some kind of cool, evolving, sort of semi-random things. So this could be like, have just a couple different percussive sounds that get triggered. Yeah, so sometimes they would be triggered every 4 beats, and sometimes it would be, not every 4 beats, or every 5 beats it repeats, or resets. So you could do a lot of interesting sort of things. There wasn't any plugin inside of Reaper that could do the same things. MIDI Ex Machina was similar in some ways, like the Euclidean sequencer and things like that, but it didn't have the reset after a certain number of steps function. That makes this one very interesting. And this is sort of similar to some of the sequencing things found on the Electron hardware. So yeah, link is in the description for this. I wish I had a chance to download it and demo it, but there's a GitHub link for this, and it's available on Mac. There is a VST3 Windows version of this as well. So if that's interesting, check it out. That's your little bonus for sticking with the full stream. Thanks again. See you next time. Lots of videos, lots of stuff to catch up on, especially sleep. Thank you so much. See you guys later.